Hi, this is Trey Passer, and welcome to the Horoscope 101 channel. This week, it's I believe it's called Full Moon Week, Part 2, I guess. Well, the second, because we did it before. So, the movie that I chose to review for the Horoscope 101 channel for Full Moon Week, I think Full Moon Madness, but I forget what. I'll put it on the title of the video, is, of course, The Howling. Okay, this is a Joe Dante film, okay, and this came out, excuse me, in 1981, I believe. Yeah, 1981. Okay, and basically it stars Dee Wallace, Patrick McNee, from the Avengers, Dennis Dungy, and Christopher Wallace Stone. That's her, what's called husband, Dee Wallace, husband in real life. Okay, or Christopher Stone, that's his name. Anyway, basically this story begins with a television newswoman who basically she has an incident with a serial killer where she basically almost gets killed by a serial killer, Eddie Quist, and of course she's completely rattled by this, and of course they send her to see a psychiatrist, okay, and he recommends that she go to this place that he sort of a retreat which he runs. It's called the Colony. It's a secluded retreat in the mountains, okay, and she goes up there with her husband, to try to get over this traumatic experience, where she almost nearly get killed by a serial killer, and Dee Wallace's character's name is Karen Wright in this, and Patrick McNee, he plays Dr. George Wagner, and for those who've seen the original Wolfman, I think that's the name of the director of the original Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman. Yeah, I think Dr. George Wagner. I think George Wagner. I think that was his name. I think Curtis Cement wrote it, but I think George Wagner is director. But I'm not sure. You can't quote me on that directly. Anyway, basically, they go up to this retreat, and of course, Karen White. She starts hearing all these weird sounds and weird noises and stuff, and then also at the same time, her husband, starts to flirt, or I guess he starts to flirt with him. There's a character up there, Marsha Quist, who starts to flirt with her husband, of course. And then later, you see him later, her husband is attacked by this creature, and then, of course, later he runs into Marsha Quist again, where, of course, he proceeds to, have sex with her, and then, of course, change into a werewolf. Okay, and like I said, it's really, Karen Wright is really freaking out, all this weird stuff and all the creepy people that's around there. And then finally, she gets her friend, she gets her friend, one of her friends, to come up named Terry Fisher, to investigate, the strange goings-ons up there. And of course, she runs into, of course, more werewolves. Okay, in fact, she runs into Eddie Quist himself, who actually, you find out later, is the brother of Marsha Quist, the chick that cheated with Karen White's husband, of course. And then let's say this movie has a nice mix of comedy, because Joe Dante, I guess, so it has a little bit of the comedy edge, but it also has a nice amount of horror in this, because these werewolves can actually change. They don't need the full moon to change, okay, and you get some really creepy performances, especially Robert Picardo, who plays Eddie Quist. The serial killer. He's a really, really creepy performance. And I remember the first time I saw this. Well, I think I saw a clip of this. Anyway, where Terry Fisher's character, who's the friend of Karen Wright, she comes up there to investigate, and she, of course, discovers all these weird things and these werewolves and stuff, and then she tries to call back to her boyfriend, Chris, played by Dennis Dungan, to tell him all this weird stuff that's going on. But she has a tape recorder, and she actually records her murder by Eddie Quist. And then, of course, Chris comes up there, after he hears everything, and of course, he doesn't believe, at first he doesn't believe it, but then he does believe it, and then he decides to come up there with silver bullets, of course. And then he meets up with Karen White, and then they have the big confrontation, in the bar with all the relatives, with all the residents of the town, who basically, they know now that that she knows what they really are. Okay, and of course these people are pissed off and want to say, let's just kill them. And of course they're tired of hiding, hiding who they are. Even though Dr. George Wagner, played by Patrick Denise, is kind of, he's kind of sick of it. He's kind of wants this to end. And then of course you have the the climax where they basically have to fight their way out of this, and basically set the colony on fire and escape. But before they escape, of course, Karen White, she gets bit, and then of course you find out while watching it, because her husband has a distinctive tattoo. Once they kill the werewolf that's on top of the car, that was her husband who basically bit her before they killed him. And then of course she makes a plan with her friend Chris that they're going to expose these people. And she actually literally gets on TV. And I remember that because they play this clip. I think they used to play this clip all the time whenever they talked about werewolf movies and stuff. And basically she goes on, she goes in front of the cameras and basically, starts telling the people, about this colony and what's going to happen. And then she says, I'm going to show you. And then you see her basically transform into a werewolf. And then you see great shots of people looking at it. And then I think there's a great shot where one of the young girls say, Mom, look, the newswoman turned into a werewolf. And of course, you see her a werewolf, and she's of course crying. And then Dennis Duncan's character Chris picks up the gun and literally shoots her. And then it kind of that cuts off. And then you think it's going off. As it goes off, it's you're at you're at a restaurant, and people are eating. And then you see a trucker, pulls up and he says, hey, what are you having, sweetheart? And then he said, I'll take a hamburger. And then he said, how do you want it? And she said, rare. And then, of course, that's Marsha Quest. She actually survived. And like I said, this movie was a really great movie. It kind of really launched the, I think, the werewolf craze back then, because I think this was first, and then I think he came Wolfen and all these other movies that came out. But this movie started it all. And like I said, Joe Dante did a great job. It was a great mix of comedy and outright horror in this movie. And like I said, there's a great moment in this movie where when they're in the barn, where Karen Wright runs to Patrick Denise character George Wagner, thinking that he can save him, and then he goes, "No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not gonna. You're not saved." Basically, which is like a real cold moment. Okay, but anyway, I actually love The Howling. The Howling I would give an 8 out of 10 because it's just a great mix of comedy, drama, and you get great performances. I said Robert Picardo, who plays the doctor on Voyager, he's great as Eddie Chris, the serial killer. Because at that moment when he plays back, there's a moment when he basically, when the boyfriend of the woman he killed, Chris, comes up there, and he basically plays him the tape of him killing his girlfriend. He said, "Watch this. This is my favorite part." And he plays the tape, of him killing, basically killing his girlfriend. And of course, he throws the rifle back at him. He said, "Yeah, go ahead, bright boy." And then because he figures this guy doesn't know I'm aware if I can't get killed by regular bullets, and he doesn't know the guy has silver bullets. And basically, he starts to transform, and then of course he kills him. Okay, and it's a great movie. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Okay, let me know what you think of The Howling. Feel free to leave comments down below. And this is Trey Pastor for the Horoscope 101 channel saying so long and take care.